I clocked in for the last time on a Tuesday, same as I had for 30 years. The card punch was an old mechanical one, the kind that still left a red ink dot on the paper. Nobody had bothered to replace it. I suspect nobody had noticed it was still there. That was fairly standard, in Bay 12. My name is Coll Dray. I am a maintenance mechanic, grade 3. Was, I suppose, after today. I serviced the fluid systems, the injector assemblies, and the ventilation stacks for the Emperor's orbital hangar on Aldrath Station, Bay 12 specifically, which held the state shuttle and 6 support craft for the household fleet. For 30 years I rolled my cart through that bay twice a day, 6 days a week. I knew the decking by its sounds. I knew which overhead lamp hummed a quarter-tone sharp when the temperature dropped. I knew the shuttle's portside injector bank had a soft spot in the third-seat housing that needed checking every 40 cycles, and I had been checking it every 40 cycles since I was 31 years old. Nobody up in the administrative levels knew I knew that. I am not sure anybody up there knew I existed. That was the situation when I came in on Tuesday morning to find Bay 12 full of people. 6 of them by my count, all wearing the gray and gold diagnostic coveralls of the Imperial Engineering Corps. Their equipment was arranged in a neat line along the wall. 3 portable acoustic scanner rigs, 2 pressure analysis carts, and a spectrum reader that probably cost more than I had earned in the entirety of my career. They were standing in a cluster near the shuttle's starboard engine nacelle, arguing in low voices. The state shuttle had been grounded for 4 days. I had read the notice on the board. Hangar suspended, diagnostic in progress, maintenance personnel hold routine, and I had held my routine for 4 days, the way I was told. I had sat in the break room and drunk my tea and waited, because that is what grade 3 mechanics do when the Corps comes in. But today was my last day, and I had come to clear my locker and hand in my cart and say goodbye to Bay 12. And while I was standing in the doorway watching 6 credentialed engineers argue, I heard something. It was a sound the shuttle made when her portside bank was sitting wrong. A faint whistle, barely audible under the ventilation noise. 2-note, almost a breath. I had heard it before. Cycle 23 of the current sequence, which would have been about 6 weeks ago. I had reseated the third injector housing and the whistle had stopped. I had logged it, same as always, on the maintenance ledger that nobody read. I stood in the doorway a moment longer. One of the Corps engineers glanced up at me, registered gray coveralls in a tool cart, and looked back down at his data pad. That was ordinary enough. I pushed my cart to the wall beside my locker, opened the locker, and began taking my things out. A spare lens cloth, a photograph of my daughter at her graduation, a tin of hand salve I had been meaning to take home for 11 months. The whistle came again. 2 notes. Soft. I closed the locker. I left my personal things on the bench and took my cart and walked to the portside nacelle. I did not ask the engineers for permission. I am not sure they registered I was moving. I sat down on the deck plates with my back to the housing, the way I had done 1,000 times, and I put my ear close to the inspection port, and I listened. Third seat. The lip was off true. Not much. A degree, maybe less. Enough that under pressure the injector would wobble at its base, and that wobble set up the whistle, and that whistle told you the seal was on its way to failing. If you let it go far enough, you would get a pressure bleed under load, and the drive would stutter, and on a state shuttle carrying the Emperor, you would rather not have the drive stutter. None of the acoustic rigs along the wall had found it, because the whistle only manifested under load, and they had been running diagnostic pressure at 2/3 cycle, to avoid stressing the grounded system. At 2/3 the wobble was below their detection floor. I knew that because I had been listening to this particular injector bank for 15 years, and I knew exactly where its floor was. I took my hand file from the cart. I took my inspection light. I took the strip of spare gasket tape I kept clipped to the cart's left rail for exactly this category of problem, because the third seat in the portside bank had a mild manufacturing irregularity that meant a new gasket never quite bedded right without a trim strip under the lower edge. I filed the lip. 4 strokes, maybe 5. I brushed the dust away with my thumb. I cut the trim strip, fitted it, pressed the seat home. I sat back and listened. Quiet. I stood up, put my file and my light back on the cart, and started writing the repair note on my log pad. One of the engineers was watching me, a young one, pale blue Thisani skin, tall, the kind of careful face that hasn't learned yet how to look at a thing without also thinking about how to explain it to a superior. He had been watching since about the second file stroke. Now he walked over. "What did you do?" he said. "Filed the third seat lip on the portside injector bank and reseated it with a trim strip," I said. "It's been flagging a soft wobble since cycle 23. I should have caught it earlier. I logged it, but I should have flagged it louder." He stared at the inspection port. He looked back at me. "We've been on this shuttle for 4 days." "I know," I said. "I'm sorry for the delay. You'd have found it at full load pressure, I think, but I imagine you had orders not to stress the system. He stared at me a little longer. Then he turned and said something to the others in the cluster, and the cluster went quiet, and then they all looked at me, and that was an odd feeling because I could not remember the last time more than one person had looked at me at once in Bay 12. They ran a full load pressure diagnostic. The drive ran clean. No whistle, no wobble, no pressure variance at any point in the cycle. I finished my repair log, dated it, and signed it, and put the pad back on the cart. I was carrying my personal things to the exit when the bay door opened, and a man I recognized walked in. Lord Vale Orn, the Emperor's chief protocol officer. Tall, silver-haired, the particular bearing that comes from spending a career 2 steps behind someone important. He did not look like a man who visited maintenance bays often. He looked at the engineers. Then he looked at me. "You are Coll Dray," he said. It was not a question, but there was something careful in the way he said my name, as if he had been handed it a few minutes ago, and was still checking it fit. "I am," I said. "The Emperor wishes me to convey his personal thanks," Lord Vale said. "The shuttle is his this afternoon. You have resolved what the Imperial Engineering Corps could not in 4 days." I nodded. My daughter's photograph was in my left hand, and I was aware of it. "It was a minor seat fault," I said. "A trim strip and a file. Any experienced maintenance hand would have caught it. I should have flagged it more clearly in my log." "Nonetheless," said Lord Vale. He paused. "His Imperial Majesty has asked that I extend you an offer. There is a senior engineering post open in the Household Fleet Maintenance Division. Full Corps accreditation. The appointment is yours, if you choose it." I looked around Bay 12. The deck I knew by its sounds. The overhead lamp that hummed a quarter-tone sharp. The injector bank I had kept honest for 15 years. "I appreciate that very much," I said. "Please thank His Majesty for me. But I have been here 30 years and today is my last day, and I have a train to catch this evening to see my daughter. I think I'll leave it at that." Lord Vale was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded. Once, with a gravity that suggested he was recording the answer in the same careful part of his mind where he kept everything the Emperor needed to know. "Your name will be recorded in the household maintenance log," he said, "as the mechanic who cleared the shuttle." "It's already in my own log," I said, "but I appreciate the thought." I shook his hand. It surprised him. I could see that, but he shook it back. I pushed my cart to the cage, handed in my badge, clocked my card one last time with the old mechanical punch, and walked to the lift. 30 years in Bay 12, and on the last morning, someone finally said my name. That was enough.